Well, hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we have an exclusive interview with the turkey assassin, my longtime hunting partner and friend, Dave, and you can see his videos on Turkey Assassin at Gobbler54. So I know a lot of people have questions about turkey hunting on um, all the things that I have questions about because I'm a very amateur turkey hunter. Dave is not. So we'll start off the questions, and then you guys can put comments in if you have other questions, and I'll follow up and get back to you. So Dave, a lot of people think turkeys are dumb, um, thus very easy to hunt. Is that true?
I don't think that's true. First of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me out here today and talk to you everybody about turkey hunting. I don't think turkeys are dumb at all. I think they're a very smart animal. I mean, they have a brain of a size of a pea, but having hunted them for several years now, and this year is no different. They're pretty smart animals. Pretty smart. They adapt very well, and very hard to be successful.
My wife says I have the brain the size of a pea. So how many years have you been hunting turkeys?
Oh my Lord, I've probably been hunting I'd say about 17, 18 years now. Yeah.
And we together had been hunting for probably 10 or 15 years.
I'll bet, yes.
One of the questions you always see is, do you put decoys out or no decoys?
That's an interesting question. And it's very specific. You talk to a lot of people, decoys can work and sometimes they can't work. I can say that I've killed turkeys without decoys and I've killed turkeys with decoys. So I could go either way. Certainly when you're on private land, you would like to hunt with decoys, right? You're sure that no one else is out there hunting with you. It becomes a safety issue. Hunting with private land with your decoys is great. Public land, not so much. I mean,
That's a good point.
Yeah, you don't want to risk getting shot at or something like that. Somebody shooting at your decoys. But in different times of the year, you can use different decoys: hens, jakes, maybe a strutter decoy, something like that. But I typically use decoys in an open field. When there's an open field and I want toms or gobblers to come in and check out that scene, they have a big wide view so they can see those turkey decoys and come in from a great distance. But typically in the timber, in the woods, I don't use decoys at all.
What about hens versus jakes or toms?
Again, that can be something that happens during the season. The season changes. You have to know what transition period you're in, what transition period that turkey is in. That goes by your scouting and maybe field cameras that you have out there, knowing what kind of turkeys you have on your property and what they're doing at that particular time. But I would say probably early season you could get away with a jake and maybe a couple of hen decoys. They're still establishing dominance. Those flocks are still establishing their dominance. So they may come into a scene or to your setup with fighting that jake. The gobblers would come in towards the end of the season. Get later on, I would say maybe a lone hen. Those hens in the early season, they'll break off and go to their nest. Sit on their nest during the day. Those gobblers are gone. They may come into a single hen.
And there's so many different manufacturers that make turkey loads. What size shot do you use for turkey?
I think now I'm using a 5 or a 6 shot. I use a 20 gauge shell. I use a 20 gauge shotgun, Weatherby 20 gauge with a red dot sight on it.
Nice. What type of calls do you prefer?
Again, there's so many doggone calls out there. You have, we call diaphragm calls, the ones you put in your mouth to make your yelps and your calls. We have the old standard box call. There's something called a pot call. It all specifically what you are comfortable in using. One of the things I think about when I use calls is how close are you to that turkey? I mean, if that turkey's way out there on a windy day, you may want to use a box call to reach out there in a long distance to get that turkey to gobble. But as that turkey comes in closer, you don't want to be sitting there using a box call and all that movement. Turkeys have great vision. So you want to, maybe at that time, you want to slip in your mouth call, your diaphragm call in and call softly or something that's going to be less movement. So you could do a combination of some of the calls.
Which one do you prefer? Doesn't matter because the circumstances dictate that.
Well, I prefer, it's a more advanced technique is the mouth call, the diaphragm call. I prefer using that and being proficient in that. Pretty much all year long, I'll be driving around in my car or on my truck, and I'll have my diaphragm call in, and I'll be, especially around February, March, getting ready for the season. I'll practice my calling techniques on the diaphragm. So I really like to. It's a lot of excitement when that turkey's coming in. You can use a mouth call or diaphragm call to call into that turkey and have that turkey come in just to your mouth call.
Do you ever scratch the ground like to simulate a turkey making scratching or coming off the roost?
I do that. Sometimes sometimes what I'll do early in the morning. Now I won't call the turkey a gobbler when he's on the roost. I'll wait till that turkey gets on the ground. One of the things in the turkey woods is that gobbler is sitting up there in the morning, and he'll sit up on that limb and he'll strut and he'll gobble, and he's waiting for that hen to gobble, to come back to him. So that hen will yelp, and he's sitting up on that old limb and he's looking down. He's waiting to see that hen. That's the way nature is. He's waiting to see that hen, and then once he sees that hen, he'll fly down. So what I'll do is I'll sit there and I'll simulate sometimes a flying down hen. Sometimes you can use a feather, or like a turkey feather that I use, maybe a wing feather, make it sound like a fly down motion, or sometimes I'll use my hat to make it fly down to try to trick that gobbler into a hen that's fly down. Typically after that, you want me to scratch the ground maybe. If it's dry out and the leaves are out there, you can do some scratching. Because those turkeys, when they hit that ground, they're going to start feeding. They're going to be looking around. They're going to start feeding, and they're yelping a little bit. Their typical turkey behavior. So I'll use a little bit of scratching technique. Sometimes I use a scratching technique also if I get a turkey to gobble throughout the day, and maybe he's hung up a little bit and won't come in. I'll start scratching the leaves. I'll stop calling, but I'll start scratching the leaves a little bit to try to get him to convince him to come in. And hey, there's some hens over there. They may not be yelping, they may not be calling, but that sound of those leaves can bring those turkeys right on in.
So at what part, I know you aim at the head of the turkey according to watching videos, but in reality it's probably a little bit lower. And do you take a frontal shot at the turkey or a side shot?
I don't think a frontal or a side matters. I usually should put that bead right on the base of the turkey's neck there. And it's real important to know how far your turkey reaches and what your capabilities are. Some of the turkey loads they have out there now, some of these people are shooting 50, 60 yards, 70 yards at a turkey and killing that turkey. But
what size choke do you use?
I can't remember. Is it
extra full?
It is an extra full turkey choke on there, and it's important to get out there before the season and range your gun in. Go to the range. Know what your 20 and 30. I usually don't shoot anything over 40 yards. That's my capability.
That was my next question.
I'll be comfortable with shooting anything under 40 yards, but anything over that, you don't want to risk injuring that bird or missing that bird and something else happens.
So I've seen videos where hunters have shot a turkey and it's flapping around on the ground, and I know they got big spurs on their legs that can cut you. How do you avoid getting injured picking up a turkey that's flopping on the ground?
Oh yeah, that happens. I did get cut one year. As a younger turkey hunter, I went in and grabbed that turkey by the feet, and I got cut. I learned real quick. That's kind of a self-correcting thing. So nowadays, you see that turkey all flopping down there. It's a good idea to run up to that turkey and just step on his neck. Sometimes you can pick the turkey up and maybe hold him by his neck, but it won't take a few seconds before that turkey expires.
Is it simple to field dress a turkey?
I typically, in the turkeys that I've killed, I've only kept the turkey breast. I'm not a much of a leg man, but I keep the turkey breast, so it's real simple. And nowadays it's so much easier. For a young hunter out there, or somebody wants to learn how to get on YouTube and learn how to field dress a turkey. So you just pretty much you could just field dress it on the back of your pickup truck or on the ground and just take those feathers up on the breast there, and
so you don't have to remove the entrails.
No, nope.
Hopefully tonight we'll get a chance to try that.
Oh, we're hoping.
We're going hunting after this video. You've obviously eaten wild turkey. How does it taste compared to domestic turkey?
I don't know too much of a difference. When I make turkey, when I'll take them, sometimes I'll use turkey nuggets and I'll batter them up and fry them up, turkey nuggets. I don't see too much of a difference with the turkey breast itself. I like the taste of it. Sometimes I'll marinate it, let it sit for a little while, put it on the grill. It could tend to be a little dry, so those are some of the things I use.
So taxidermy bills we know are expensive, especially on a full mount of a bird.
Mm-hmm.
But one simple way to remember your trophy is to put the tail feathers and the beard on a board or cardboard. How simple is that?
It is simple. And going back to YouTube videos, I watched a couple myself here just to learn. But, a lot of people, when you got that long beard there, even taking it off the turkey. A lot of times people will try to cut that beard off, but I found if you just put your fingers right on the tip of the base of that beard and just pull it straight out, come right off. And as far as the fan is, you want to turn that turkey upside down there, use that fan on the back, get as close to the base as you can and cut that part off. And I've seen a lot of people just maybe put it out on the board and maybe let that fan go out and dry and maybe pin it.
Do you salt it?
You can salt it. A lot of people use borax salt or borax on the thing to dry it out.
And borax on the end of the beard too?
Yep. I've never put it on. You could. I've never put it on the end of the beard, but you could.
Explain the role of conservation in today's turkey world. I've been reading that the turkey populations in Pennsylvania have been declining. Do you know anything about that?
I would agree with you. Turkey population is definitely declining, and I don't know what the reason. Part of the reason I believe is predator control. We have so many. Nobody's trapping anymore. That's one of the biggest things I think is affecting turkey populations today. There's no one who's trapping. It's a dying art. And we have so many predators out there. We have coyotes, and we have possums, and we have skunks, and we have all those types of predators that'll go in there. And you think about it, when that hen lays those eggs, maybe 16 or 17 in her clutch, those are vulnerable. They're sitting in a nest. I mean, all those predators
and the nests are on the ground.
They're on the ground. They can come in and destroy those nests. And hey, maybe out of those 16 or 17 eggs that she's hatched, maybe only 4 survive.
And then the predators get the young poults too.
That's another thing, yeah. Especially with the weather we're seeing here in Pennsylvania, which concerns me for next season, is the raining weather that we've had is terrible for poults. So that's another thing we're going to be looking at. Next season, how many of those survived? It's going to be pretty hard.
Well, I hope you guys realize how unfortunate you are to have such information available at a click on YouTube. So, again, please watch the entire interview, and if you have questions, put them in the comments, and I'll reach out to Dave if I don't know the answer and get it back to you. So it's end of the year. That's why we can hunt after lunchtime. And May 31st, is that correct?
Yeah, Saturday's the last day.
Saturday's the last day. So we're going to give it a shot. We've had some turkeys around here on the property, and I've seen them off and on, and usually late in the afternoon. So we're going to give it a try, and appreciate if you guys would subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. And thank you for watching.